Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Interact podcast. Today, I'm joined by Dr. Toyin Alli. You've got a great quiz, and I'm not going to do any injustice to it by trying to cue it up. I'm just going to ask you right off the bat, tell us about it because it's a unique one and it sparked my curiosity. So tell us how it works.
Okay, yeah, so my quiz is an academic entrepreneur personality quiz, and the results are actually based on the DISC assessment, which is kind of like a personality assessment, but I use it to help academics, professors who are interested in growing a business and teaching things outside of the university. I use it to help them understand what their semester proof business strategy is. And a semester proof business is something that I came up with. It's a type of business that can run in the background while you are busy teaching, grading, doing research, mentoring grad students, and things like that. So having a business that can be reliably profitable when you have these moments in time where you're really focused on something else and you can't be there for your business every single day. And so the quiz identifies their personality and shares how they can use a semester proof strategy in their business.
Where did that idea come from? Were people asking you like to figure out, how to run that type of business?
Oh, yeah. So I started my business called the Academic Society back in 2017, where I help grad students with time management and productivity. And after growing that business, so many professors were coming to me and asking, how are you doing this? How are you doing both being a professor and running a successful business at the same time? They're like, I have these aspirations. I just feel like I don't have enough time to do it all. And so I was like, oh, well, I actually don't spend that much time on my business. Like during the semester, I spend about 5 hours per week running my business. And I'm like, it's pretty much semester proof. And people like that term. So I just ran with it.
I like that. I like that. And it's interesting that people were seeing what you were doing and then asking, "Oh, I like the way your life is set up. How do I do that?" And then you created the quiz to help them figure out how to do that in a way that actually works for their personality type or like you mentioned like the disc assessment like it's based on like a general archetype of a personhood. Was that difficult to do? Like, how did you break it down into like the specifics? Because a quiz doesn't have a ton of options in it. Was it hard to like fit everybody into those boxes per se?
Actually, no. So I did learn this from someone else. You're probably very familiar with Linda Sadu. She teaches something called Quiz Lab, and she teaches how to create quizzes using the DISC assessment. And so basically, not all, but many of the questions in the quiz, each answer relates to one of the personality types in the DISC assessment. And so I'm really just taking the scores from those questions to identify their personality type. And the personality types are quite distinct. And so it's very likely they will resonate with one type more than the others.
That's a good point. Like having them be more distinct is super helpful. And then also having it set up that way. And Linda's got a great framework where, each answer choice goes to one of the outcomes and the outcomes are all distinct from one another. So then it makes it more accurate in terms of actually giving a result that resonates with people. What's the feedback been like from people who have taken the quiz? Are they finding it useful? How does it work within your business?
Yeah, people really love the quiz. So I don't use the titles and naming conventions from the DISC assessment. So I don't call them steady and direct and whatever. I actually used um, media. So professors in media are the result types. So for example, Ted from How I Met Your Mother, he became a professor. He's one of the answers. Sandra O's character from The Chair, which is about academia. So the people, my audience really resonates with the outcomes. They're like, oh, another professor. Let me read the outcome and see how it relates to me. And so in the results, I actually map back to, I start talking about their personality as it relates to their academic life first. And I talk about like the empathetic person. You resonate so much with your students. Your students are always in your office hours. Here's how all of these characteristics that you have work so well for you in your business. And here are the challenges you might be coming up against. And I find that people are really resonating with those challenges. They're like, oh, okay, this is helpful. This person understands what I'm going through and why things aren't working. So now I'm going to listen up. And I believe that people are really resonating with the quiz because for my email list, over 50% of my email list come from quizzes. I actually have two quizzes, but they're mostly from the first quiz.
Wow, that's really incredible. That's an interesting point about the challenges resonating with people. And you kind of mentioned that earlier, so I wanted to harken back to that because it sounds like a lot of professors were experiencing the challenge of having this itch to do something on the side, but not knowing how to make it work, make it semester proof, like you're saying. So it's super interesting. It sounds like people gravitate towards the challenges that you're recognizing that they might have in their quiz results. And that's similar to the reason why they want to take the quiz in the first place, which is that they feel like it's hard to pursue their idea outside of academia. Why do you think that professors are gravitating more towards the challenging side of things?
Yeah, so academics, they're lifetime learners. They love to learn. So a lot of people that come to me, they have been like silently lurking in the background of all of these business gurus, business strategists, and they have been learning from other people. And what they're finding is that the strategies that they have been recommended doesn't quite work for them. It doesn't quite fit into their schedule. And so, and their circumstances as a professor, where they don't necessarily need the income from their business. They just really have this deep passion to want to help others. But they get so frustrated with not quite understanding the online marketing landscape. And so they feel very stuck. It's like, I really want to help people. I really want to support other people, but no one is giving me like the step by step of how to do it on the type of schedule that I'm on. And so they just really feel like, oh, okay, you get me. This is going to be different than what I've learned from other people. And I think when you can kind of make people feel like you're in their brains and like you're speaking the words that they've been thinking this whole time, they just form this instant connection. It's like, okay, I'm serious about this person now.
That's so cool to hear because the fact that you've been able to pull that off within a quiz format is really impressive because it's kind of hard, right? Like there's like boxes to it. Like you can't just like listen to somebody for an hour and then repeat back to them what you heard them say. You just don't have time, right? Like that's why it's like a thing to help scale. How much of like your past conversations with professors do you feel like is infused into this quiz? And for anybody that's thinking about a quiz, like how important do you think it is to have conversations with real life people to in order to know what they're thinking about?
It's like essential. You have to have conversations with people. When people tell me like, "Oh, I don't know what to share. I don't know what content to create." I was like, "Oh, you haven't been talking to your people." Like when you talk to people, you realize just how much they don't know and you realize like where they get stuck. So, almost everything besides the disc assessment stuff in my quiz comes from my conversations with academics as well as my own experience as an academic trying to run a business as well. So I would share like on my YouTube channel, I would share like what I was doing and where I was getting stuck. And I always talk about this term like binge working. Academics are always binge working. They find this like they get this inspiration to do something, to work on their business. They get super excited about it. They spend like 3 hours or a whole weekend working on this thing. But then real life comes back. Academic responsibilities come back. And so they neglect their business for a while until they get that next burst of inspiration. But what they're doing is losing that momentum. And that happened to me as well until I created the semester proof part of my business. And they're like, oh my gosh, I'm always starting and stopping my business. So most of the quiz results is about that, which actually is dependent of, or sorry, independent of the personality type, but they all struggle with this issue. And I just know that because I've shared my story, and so many people have resonated and shared their story with me as well.
That's super cool to hear because when you can have it empathize and recognize what people are going through in that way, then it's like personal, even though the quiz is like an automation, it's an automation tool to help automate a conversation that you don't have time to be online all the time having these conversations with people, but you can make it feel the same way because you're infusing everything that you've learned over the years. What happens after the quiz or in general in your business? Like you mentioned that 50% of the email subscribers are coming through the quizzes. For people that join your list, what's the next step in terms of getting to know you and work with you in the future?
Yes, I have an email sequence that I use where I'm selling my 90-day semester proof business plan offer, where it just walks them through like my framework and how I truly set up my business. But the deeper way to work with me is in my Six Figure Professor program, which is a one-on-one mentoring program where we literally implement and build their whole simple sales funnel, which is like an email sales funnel together step by step. We even do tech sessions, tech walkthroughs, all the things, because that's where they get stuck. Like my people are very smart. They know how to figure things out, but they really get stuck in the implementation. And so that's how I work with most of my clients.
That's really cool. And do people typically start with the 90-day and then move over, or is it kind of just a mix, like whatever they need?
It's a mix. It really depends on how far into their business journey they are. And I find that I kind of get people from like a wild range, like people who just have an idea to start a business, people who are just tinkering around with posting online, people who have created their first offer, people who have been running businesses for a longer time. So I would say in my deeper program, I usually mostly get those people who have had their business for at least a year or so. They just haven't been making progress. But for everyone else, the proof part of my business, I have a runway, like an email runway that's like over 6 months long, that nurtures them and gets them ready for that program. So when they are ready to say yes, then they can.
Nice. That's awesome. That's awesome. And then what about flipping over to like the top of the funnel in terms of how people are discovering you in the beginning-ish stages? Where are people finding you online?
Mostly on my YouTube channel. Often people will reach out to me on LinkedIn and say, I typed in academic entrepreneur and I found your videos. Finally, someone else is talking about this. So usually YouTube number one, secondarily probably LinkedIn, but really YouTube is my bread and butter.
That's cool. How long have you been on there?
YouTube, just in general, since 2017, like with my first brand. And I started talking a little bit about business stuff until like 2021 is when I started this brand where I help academics with their business. And so I created a second channel. So I've been running that one for about almost, oh, has it been 4 to 5 years now? Wow.
Nice. That's awesome. How was that journey? Like, what how often are you posting? When did you start to see or when did you start to hear people reaching out telling you they found you on YouTube? Like, what was that like?
Yeah, for this second channel, it's actually taking a longer time to grow, mostly because I'm less consistent there than I was when I first started back in 2017 when I was super excited about I was learning all the YouTube strategy. So that first channel has about 15,000 subscribers. This one, I'm getting close to 200 subscribers, but I think they're all very quality. And so I would say it probably took around 2-ish years to hear about the feedback from the YouTube channel.
Thanks for saying that because it's like we live in such an age, right, where if your second TikTok doesn't blow up, people want to give up, and then it's like, nah. I
Yeah.
mean,
YouTube is a long game, but it's part of my semester proof strategy. I don't have to post on YouTube every week. It's still going to work for
yeah,
me.
seriously, and I think that's the thing that people have a lot of craving for right now. Like we had such a peak of Instagram, TikTok, social content, and then everyone realized that content lasts maximum 24 hours. And if you don't post, you make nothing. And people are like, oh, well, that is not great. Um, where are the ideas coming from for the content that you're posting? I would guess it's from your conversations again, but is there any sort of method or even just like your internal like thinking process as you're having a conversation? You're like, oh, that would make a good video.
Yeah, often when I'm working with my clients one on one and I find something they struggle with, I'm like, oh, I didn't realize this would be a thing. Let me talk about it. I'm also really into human design, and I'm a human design manifester. And that means I don't really need a lot of input to take action, but what I need to do is inform people of what I'm doing. So I often just share what I'm doing in my business, and people are really inspired by that. And so that works well for me.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's really cool. I feel like people like that a lot, where it's
Mhm.
just like a little bit of the behind the scenes. And again, because your brand is kind of uh, optimistic in a way, where like folks are wanting to achieve what you've achieved, that makes a ton of sense. How do you approach that? Like, I'm curious, I'm always curious when people take that approach. Like, how much are you sharing in real time, like what's working and what's not working? Or do you tend to like try some things out, and then if it does work, then you'll share the results? Like, where in the process are you sharing that?
That's such a great question. I think I always learned you like share from the scab, not from the wound.
Hmm.
So I don't necessarily do talk about struggles in real time. I usually talk about struggles after I've overcome them or after I've made a plan. So, for example, earlier this year, I had felt like my business had gotten too complicated, like because I was running two brands and there were like too many offers going on. And I was like, I'm feeling like my business isn't semester proof anymore. And I don't like that. And so once I eliminated a lot of my offers and created a new plan for myself, then a couple months later, I shared with my audience, hey, my business blew up bigger than what I wanted it to be, like logistically. Here's what I'm doing to make sure that it stays semester proof. So I share that. I share like insights from coaching programs that I'm personally in, like, oh, I learned this from my coach and this is how it's helping me. And then next week for the week of Black Friday, I'm actually doing tech tutorials for professorpreneurs. And so I am creating the things in real time, but that's not like a challenge or a struggle I'm going through. It's mostly just to help them.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's like not that useful as you're trying to figure it out, because you might be trying like 50 things, and if you're talking about all 50, it's just confusing.
Mhm.
So I haven't heard that phrasing though. Share the scab, not the wound. That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a very memorable way to put it. Um, so this is really cool. Thanks for sharing all this behind the scenes with us. Like, I
Oh,
think it really puts words to how a quiz comes to life and how it fits into a business. In terms of your offers and your business and your quiz, where can people go to check those out and see more about what you have to offer and your YouTube channel?
yes. So I'm Dr. Toyin Ali everywhere. drtoyinali.com/quiz is the quiz. And then my YouTube channel is Dr. Toyin Ali.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Torian. This is really, really cool. Thanks for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. This was great.